we're back with Breaking Cupid's Bow and Maya, the baby millennial. How you doing, Maya?
I'm alive, sometimes
Ah,
well.
well, today we're going to talk about dating with an expiration date.
Mm, something I know very well.
Can you tell everybody what that means?
Dating with an expiration date is when you are dating someone, you may have very real feelings for them, but you know that at one point you're going to leave, whether it be emotionally, geographically, job. You know that there's a time and point where this relationship will expire.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. When you date with an expiration date, do you go into the relationship knowing like time's about to be up? Do you do that knowing that, or you just figure that out as you go?
I personally know, like, I usually have a goal that I want to achieve, or I have an opportunity that's in another state that I want to pursue. So that's when I know that I don't want to be in a long distance relationship and I would like this, and this is when it's going to end.
But do you tell the person you
I
start
do.
dating? Okay, and how does that usually go?
It depends on the person. I've gotten some mixed reactions. I've also reacted mixedly where I thought that at the time of expiration I would be ready for the relationship to
Yeah,
end, but I was not.
yeah.
So
So you kind of dated with an expiration date is like dating with the purpose of being with this person for a small period of time.
yes.
But well, there's a lot of dating philosophies out there. One is dating with a purpose, dating mindfully, and now we have dating with an expiration date, right?
Mm.
And I think that they all converge, right? Like they all have some similarities about it. My question is like when people date with a purpose, right? Like if it's I want to be in a relationship, a long-term relationship, and I will screen out all candidates who don't fit my criteria. Like that's one. Dating with an expiration date, where as you described, like there's something coming up in 3 months, 6 months, so you know you're gonna be in this relationship for a discrete period of time, or dating mindfully. I've heard that one too, where you're dating for kind of the things that you want, like you're being very purposeful about who you're dating, right? Me personally, like it's been a long time since I've dated, but when I was dating all the way up through my 30s, I was, screening people out left and right for bad behavior. And for things, for people who did not have things that I want. But I found that sometimes that could be stressful because it artificially puts limitations on the relationship before it has a chance to grow. What
That
do you
sounds
think?
very familiar. That feels like dating on the apps where you're filtering people out like the minute they make the wrong statement or have the wrong interest. You're like, well, swoop,
Right?
lovely chatting with you.
Block.
The chat has expired. Oh my God, so sorry.
Yeah. But I think that we do that more than we don't.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
it's good to protect yourself. I think that dating can be really difficult emotionally, and you can control certain controllables, and those are the ones that you can control.
Do you find that dating sucks?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I mean, like I said, it's been a long time since I've dated, but I did not like it. It was stressful. Even when you say it's not going to be stressful, it kind of is.
I agree. I notoriously do not date. I go on two dates. I assume that we go together afterwards, and then that's it. That's the end of my journey.
And do you ever discuss it with the person? Right. So I think that's my point, right? Like we date with expectations always, almost always,
For sure.
right? Even but we just don't share what they are. And then in the middle, like you get the ick or somebody says, something and you're like, oh, that doesn't match. And as you said earlier, you're like, I'm out. But that means somebody has violated your expectation. And we
Yeah.
don't typically dig deeper. We're like, I'm out.
Yeah. Or you're not meeting someone's expectation and then you find out and you're like, well, oh, I probably didn't like you as much as I thought I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it can be demoralizing, right? I think people can lose energy very quickly.
it's also hard to give energy to someone that you're dating when you may not have energy to give for yourself.
Oh, facts. Facts. Can you drill down on that a little bit more?
Um, I think with dating, you are starting to get to know someone, you may have a connection with them, but you don't have obligations or expectations in terms of, well, you have some in terms of like their emotional well-being, like you don't want to disrespect it, but you may have greater obligations to yourself or your friends or your family. So the person that you don't really know that you may be building with will take a back seat, and that kind of pauses a connection.
Well, I think so, but I also think that human beings play these games with themselves, these self-protective games where they say, well, we're just dating or, we're just talking, and even though feelings may be growing, well, there's no title, right? That's another one. There's no title, so that means we're not serious. Therefore, I don't owe you certain things, right? And that might be true. But we play all these self-protective games and we're not actually very honest about where we are or what we feel. We don't tell people goodbye when we're done. We just ghost them, right?
Who would do such a thing?
We just stop responding to texts, right? Or we're like, yeah, we should get together soon. Uh-huh. You know, how many people are actually like, it was good getting to know you, but I don't think we're not a match.
I have a friend who does it really well. Like I've seen her navigate it. She lets them know that she wants the best for them in their time, but she doesn't think that she's the best for them in their time and then disconnects. I would love to do that.
So
But
she stands out in your head because most of the people don't do that.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah. It's what we want to do, but it's not what most people do. Any ideas on why?
I think it's hard. I think it's like you don't want to overstep, you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. You don't necessarily, because, well, for me, if I don't know the person, I don't know how to best deliver information to them. So sometimes I do it for just safety. Sometimes I do it just because I'm
Fair.
avoidant.
What? Okay, fair. But then you are still delivering the information.
Me personally,
No, the behavior delivers the information.
yes,
When
just
you
not
don't
ghosting.
respond to somebody, that's the information. Bye.
It is.
Uh-huh.
It
Yeah.
is.
And although most people would just prefer, I think, maybe I don't want to speak for most people, but you still end up hurting the person anyway, or you still end up getting hurt anyway. Like being ghosted doesn't feel good.
That's true. That's true. I had someone tell me that we were supposed to meet up. We had kept missing each other, and they told me that they didn't have the capacity for new connections and that they wished me well. And I did appreciate the exchange. It was disappointing because we had a good rapport, but
Yeah.
I understand. Like, you're new, things are, you just have life. Life goes on. And, like, instead of adding more to your plate, you recognize that this is something that you can't take on.
And so then it's clear, right? Like it may, kind of singe a little bit, but it's clear this is done and I can move on as opposed to hanging on and waiting.
Exactly. And being disappointed or being mad. So instead, it's just momentarily disappointed. If we ever run into each other in real life, it's like, oh wow, no ill feelings.
Or if we run into each other and you ghosted me, I'm ducking behind the bush.
Oh, just kidding. Oh, yeah, right. Right. We're
I don't know.
don't worry, I'll change my hair. They'll never know it's me.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do wish that more people would sort of respectfully say, and it depends on where you are in the relationship. If you've gone out, like, well, let me ask your opinion. If you've gone out on several dates with a person, don't you think it's a courtesy if you're like, this is not going to work, to let the person know? Look at your face.
I just know that there are people who, if I say otherwise, are going to say, how dare you say that too? How dare you lie? I I am trying I am trying not to be a ghost. I am a reformed ghost
Okay.
where my goal in dating is to no longer ghost people
Okay. Why you look like that?
because it's a hard goal. It is a challenge, but it is a goal.
Okay. Fair. Fair. Well, and not just specific to you, but what do you think would help people be more clear? Kind of say, thank you for the time. I just don't think we're a match.
I think if they took maybe taking some of the personal out of it, I think that these are one of those things where I'd rather have, I don't know if it's helpful, I don't know if it's deceitful, but having like a script on what you say when
Oh,
you know that it's not a connection, or like some go-to phrases or that you can rely on if you know that it's not working. I think that'd be helpful.
okay. Right. So saying like, I appreciate your time, but we're not a match, right? Like I've appreciated getting to know you, but I'm just not up for this right now, or I'm not ready for to continue. You can also say like I've annoyed really, liked kind of our connection, but I feel like we're more kind of on a friendship level
Yeah,
than, romance. Or I'm not, ready for a romantic connection right now. I'm gonna pull back from dating.
I think that's probably, I think that's like the best way to do it. I have a habit of oversharing where I'm like, oh, and here's all the things that are going on in my life. And I'm like, they don't want to hear that while they're being broken up with.
Well, and they don't need to know all that either,
Yeah,
right? If this is kind of new, they don't need to know that. But kind of putting a pin in it, right, allows not only you to move on, but probably them to move on without the expectation for continued communication.
that's true. And what would you define as new? Like, is new, you've been on a couple dates? Is new, you've known each other for 6 months?
Yeah. Don't you think 6 months is kind of a longer period of time where you've had regular and consistent communication? I don't know if that's new anymore.
Mm.
What do you think?
What if you travel a lot? Like, what if, like, what if these are all semantics? I'm wrong. It's fair. Like, you have to eat it. Like, yeah. Because sometimes you're busy. Like, depending on the time of the year, you might be traveling for work, you might be traveling for family. So you may have, like,
You
seen,
right, but 6 months is half a year.
yeah. I mean, when you use literal math, of course, it feels like a long amount of time.
I think it's up to everybody to define this for themselves, right? But I think if you've been out on a couple of dates, maybe under a month, that's new. When you're into 2, 3 months meeting friends, if meeting family, right? Like now you take this person who you've been seeing and you're beginning to integrate them into your life a little bit, I mean, on more than one occasion. Nah, I think you might feel better about yourself if you end things in a way that's clear.
That's fair. And it's respectful.
I think so. But I think there are a lot of barriers. I think, and I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, I don't think we get taught how to do that well. Like when we're
I,
growing up, like I just don't feel like we get taught how to end relationships well.
I agree. Not even just romantic relationships. Like, they don't teach you about like ends to friendships, like into like all types of friendship, romantic friendships, platonic friendships, work friendships. Like, you kind of just lull out of things. You're kind of
I
taught to
agree.
quietly escape, not escape, but quietly fade.
I agree. I agree. So let's get back to dating with an expiration date. So we talked a little bit. What do you think now?
I think the expiration date works for certain types of people, but I
Yeah,
do think that it is a strong emotional blanket. I think it allows you to be less vulnerable, which I enjoy.
fair. Like there's that self-protective thing again.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
sure.
depending on what you're looking for, you have to decide if you're already going to put a ceiling on the budding relationship. So when you go into it bringing up all of the limitations, like some of those things we use boundaries to keep us safe, and boundaries make sense when you're just getting to know someone. If, but if you go into it already limiting its potential, you've limited its potential.
Mm. Is there space for short-term relationships? Because that is an option on Hinge now.
Sure. I think there is. I think there's space for all kinds of relationships if they're consensual and safe and people are clear about what they're both looking for. right? And just as a caveat, I feel like if one person is looking for something really serious and you're not, you need to leave that person alone.
I
But
agree.
just to be, fair and mature about it. But I think there's definitely a place for short-term relationships as long as you're clear about what the expectations are.
Fair. Fair. Do you think that someone should date if they know that they're leaving the city that they live in?
Sure, if they're honest about it,
Hmm.
why not?
I think I struggle with that. Like I think that like I've lived in a few different places, and so dating in a few different places, I make it very clear that I don't necessarily want to stay in that place forever.
Yeah,
And so I think it can create a very odd dynamic in dating.
yeah, I can see that I can see why it would. But if you're saying, look, right, I'm in, well, Chicago, right? I'm in Chicago and I'm going to be moving to, I don't know, Cleveland, right? Um, um, just want to let you know that people do long distance. Everyone's like, I don't do long distance. Yeah, you can do long distance. We have Zoom now and FaceTime and
That's
all
true.
kinds of ways of communicating. There are planes, so it can definitely work.
That's fair. What advice would you give to someone transitioning from dating with a expiration date to dating for without expiration? Dating what is it called? You have a non-perishable relationship.
I think you have to monitor yourself. Because let's say your relationships are typically your expiration date is 3 months long or 6 months long. When you get to the 3 month and 6 month part, you might want to just, you know, have that relationship expire because that's what you're used to. But that means your goal for dating is probably changed, right? So if you're used to dating with an expiration date and now you're looking for something more long term, that's a different type of commitment. It takes a different type of energy. So, and it means, I think you pace yourself differently and your expectations are different. So it's about, self reflection. It's about being clear about what you want with yourself and with the other person.
Hmm,
Relationships don't have to have a timeline.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
I think that my criteria for dating should change now that it's going to be more long term than short.
probably,
Oh,
probably.
that's going to be
Oh,
a tough one.
well, you're going to keep me posted, right?
Of course, of course. You'll hear all the chronicles, all the journeys. We're back in the game after a little hiatus.
Okay, well, dating hiatus are sometimes recommended, that's for sure.
It's been quite a hiatus. I think an undergraduate degree's worth of hiatus.
Okay, well, welcome back to the world of dating. And I'm sure we'll have more topics to discuss as you date more.
For sure. Can't wait to keep you posted on all of the shenanigans. They will shenanigan.
All right, well, that sounds good, Maya. See you later. Till the next time.
See you later. Signing off.